Okay, welcome CIS 157. Today, the plan is to go over some issues related to the homework because I'm looking at the projects being submitted and I'm looking at different aspects of it, which I'd like to address. Then also as we go, hopefully today we'll cover the for loop and the switch statement. So we'll talk about those two structures and how they can be useful. All right, so while my NetBeans project is starting, actually it's already there. So let's create a new project, file, new project. We'll just name it Homework 5 Demo, and the location for it will be right here on the portable drive. Main app is the class to create to begin with. Scanner SC equals new scanner, and system.in is our input stream. So we have something to work for, to make sure that input works. Fix imports, one of my favorite options. Makes it easier to introduce necessary imports, make sure that the compiler is happy with the libraries that we intend to use. Next thing is and we'll say enter a number. Okay, so we're asking user to enter a number. And we're going to say if this is a prime, remember there's a homework related to prime numbers. If this number, oh actually let's let's get user input. Integer candidate equals next int. It's not very sophisticated, right? Next int. SC next int, I meant to say scanner next int. If is prime this candidate, then we can just say candidate is a prime. Otherwise, we'll suggest that candidate is not a prime number. Okay, that's directly related to our work. Now, I would like to do this whole thing in a loop, in an endless loop. So I can, a lot of people use for loop with 2 semicolons, which we're going to discuss today as an endless loop. I'm just going to move everything in here, and you can select lines of code and use a tab key to shift indentation, and shift tab brings it back. Tab with multiple lines selected instead of replacing them with a single tab character, actually shifts things around. Many source code editors do that for us, pretty much universal across many source editors. Now, we can say or 0 to exit. Okay. So we can then say if they said 0, if the candidate is 0, then we simply break, and the break statement works exactly the same way in all loops. It just simply takes you out of the loop. Obviously, this closing brace marks the end of our loop. All loops work like this. Something happens at the beginning, and then if we found a way to reach the end of the loop, which ends with a closing brace for this opening brace at the beginning of the loop, if we found our way here, the control simply is transferred right back to this line. That's all that there is to it. That's how all loops work. I don't know how better describe it rather than just say this. However, somehow we have an if statement which says break, and break definitely takes you out of the loop to the next line. So to demonstrate, we can say somewhere here we can say goodbye, right? So the user knows that they're exiting the program. So the break statement takes us out of the loop, and in this case, this is the next line of code to execute after the break statement. Similarly, the continuous statement also alters the flow of control inside the loop, and instead of taking you out, takes you right back to this top of the loop, right? So in my case, I'm just using the break. So what's left for me to code? Anyone? In this particular example, what do I need to code to finish this to become a real program? Is prime, absolutely. Thank you. Is prime is going to be a method which is supposed to analyze the candidate and decide whether it's a prime number, whether it's divisible only by 1 and itself and nothing else. So let's try it. For this, we can say public static. By the way, it doesn't have to be public. It can be private. If we want to keep this private only to this particular class and not visible or accessible from other parts of the application, if we add other source files to our code, then we can make it a private. But it needs to be static because we're trying to call it directly from another static method. We talked about this a little bit in CIS 123, where we said, there could be objects, but classes which define objects can contain static methods. And those static methods do not require instances of classes, the real objects, to make calls into them. So they don't require objects. And so I'm going to say static. Apparently it should return a Boolean result, true or false, and its name is prime, right? And it takes an integer parameter named candidate. I do not have to invent a new name for my local parameter. This is just fine, naming it the same way, because each method comes with its own scope of local parameters, local variables, and method parameters, which can be passed to the to the, you know, to the method by the caller. In our case, the caller technically is the main method. In particular, this very line of code where we say, I'm sorry, this line of code where we say if is prime, which basically will make a call, pass a number entered by the user to this particular method. This particular method somehow will examine it and return back true or false. That's what we need. Okay, so the next step is to write the implementation for this method.